Welcome to another exciting episode of the Million Dollar Peddlers. I'm Paperboy.
And I'm Mr. Magazine.
Today I want to ask you something, and it actually came about because of a comment to one of our videos. I want to thank everybody for commenting. We definitely do appreciate that, and we do answer all comments. At the very least, you get a pretty little heart, so you can have one of those. They were talking about comping. How often do you comp items, either when buying or when listing, or tell your people to do it when buying and listing, and how often do you just kind of wing it, for lack of a better word, and why?
So when I'm buying, generally, I will comp or say I'm comping everything.
Okay.
So if I know what something's worth, I'll still go to my desk, say that someone's got 8 items. I'll say, I'll comp them, see what they're going for, and I'll tell them I buy a percentage of average eBay sold price, so they understand it clearly before I even sit down. And then some things I may know or not know, and then I just kind of, with the ones I know, I wing it, and the ones I don't know, I'll write them down, and I make them an offer that way. So generally, anyone that comes in is at least going to know I'm comping something, whether I do or don't. I have the knowledge of what I'm offering, so they know I'm putting work into it, not just like looking at everything. Oh, $10, you know. As far as listers, that most of the time, if it's something obscure or I don't know the price or it's more expensive, I'll have them comp it or Terra Peak it. But if it's magazines on eBay, you know, I'll just put piles of what I think is an average price. Like say there's a $15 pile, they could be worth 10 to 20. There's a $25 pile, they could be worth 20 to 30, and so forth. So I'm not too far, but it's not worth paying my employee for 200 magazines to comp every single one of those when I have pretty much knowledge of, you know, estimated value. And at the very least, we know we take offers anyway. So if we're too high or too low, we'll figure it out. You know.
And why do you do it that way on the listing?
For what? The magazines?
Yeah.
It's faster. If I just go rattle through 100 magazines at a time or whatever.
Right. And I guess the point I was getting to is you've sold how many magazines?
God, 100,000? I don't even know.
104,344.
I'm pretty close.
Now, you've sold a lot of magazines throughout the years, and so because of that, with the knowledge base, it's almost like one of the old-time card dealers probably doesn't need to look up what 1955 Bowman's Commons are worth.
Right.
He probably just kind of knows.
Yeah.
You know, or any cards from that set if he's an old card dealer.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that's a $50 card, a $30 card. Those are $5 cards each. And, you know, he may be off by a little bit, but, you know, especially getting into some of that older stuff like that, you're getting into the exact opposite of the older stuff, but in magazines, it kind of works that way. The newer stuff doesn't tend to have, you know, sports cards. The new John Morant card is the one you got to look up because that could be, you know, fluctuating wildly. Yeah. A 1955 Bowman's not fluctuating.
Well, even like if Dean's has their $5 minimum for Commons or whatever, they may know Joe Schmo's blown these out at 99 cents. He doesn't care. He's still going to price his according to his price. Just like I'm not going to sell a $5 magazine. I'm still going to put $10, $12 on it, and hopefully I'll get close to it or take an offer close to that. So.
Well, I'm glad you asked me about how much I comp and when.
I didn't know you sold anything, to be honest. After hearing about your eBay sales. Jeez.
Wow.
Okay, so you have sold something.
I very rarely comp in the field when I'm buying things. Very, very rarely do. And as I mentioned in my reply to the comment, actually the thing that I tend to find with the comps are it tends to save me from buying stuff. Because I'll see something there and they'll have a $15 price on it. I'll be going, that's kind of interesting. That's kind of cool. I always walk away from the table. I never look it up at the table. I walk away from the table and look it up, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's a $20 item. Where am I going?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know, I pay $15, I sell it for $20, pay the fees. I lost a couple of dollars. Even if they give it to me for $10, I make $1 or $2, and it's not going to fly off the shelf.
Sure.
That tends to be when I comp. Now, part of the reason why I don't comp so much may be because I've been doing it so long. I buy obscure things, and a lot of the stuff I buy, you know, I'll give you an example. The
1828 Bible.
Yes, things like that. But also, you know, I'm standing out at a sale, and there's a 1911 Building Age magazine. There might not be another one out there for sale in the world. I kind of been doing this long enough to know that minimally it's going to go for 20, 25, right. $30, and it could go for 40, 50, depending upon content, depending upon. Yeah. If they're asking $3 on it, I know enough to know it's a good deal.
Right.
And I think part of that might come down from how and where I buy things versus how you buy things. Again, I'm buying from flea markets. I'm buying from as often as not, you're naming the price.
Right.
Whereas the price is being given to me most of the time by dealers.
I try not to play that game with them, but some people are just stubborn. They have a price in mind, but they just refuse to say it, and then I throw mine out there, and then sometimes they're shocked, sometimes they're not.
Right. But you very rarely does a dealer do that.
Yeah.
When I'm buying from you at a flea market, and you go, "Oh, what do you think?" Dude, you paid the $50 to set up here, set the tables up, and you want it gone.
Right. Yep.
Why don't you tell me what you need me to haul it away?
Yeah, exactly.
How about I charge you to haul it away?
Yep.
There you go. But yeah, I kind of was wondering about that, how often you comped. And I did kind of, as I thought about it, I don't comp often buying, very rarely. Mm-hmm. As far as selling, it depends on what it is. Books, I do comp. Just because I pick up a fair number of obscure books.
Yeah.
And I'll be looking at it going, I don't know if there's a $20 book, a $50 book, or a $200 book.
Right.
I know I paid $1, so I know I'm going to make money, but I don't know what level of book it is. Magazines, and especially as you get deeper and deeper in ephemera, I'm less and less likely to comp it just because, again, A, how many of them have sold, and B, what does that price mean anyway? Because if just one is sold and it's sold for $22, does that mean it's worth $22? No, there's been one sold on eBay in the last 2 years, none listed, and none that I can find anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, we generally comp toys for sure because they could be all over the place. And, as much as I know a lot about toys, I don't know every price about every toy. And same thing with comics. We generally will price those out and comp those as well. But like records, we have a system where, if something we want on Amazon, like records or magazines, well, if they're not on Amazon, then they go into a pile for eBay, and I will price out the magazines, I'll price out the records. And generally I try and keep them in the same price range so the lister doesn't have to go back and forth. If anything's better, I'll put it in the higher price pile,
Well, that's kind of interesting that you're comping toys and I'm comping books, both of which are pretty established markets.
Mm-hmm.
And comics are a pretty established market as well. And then as you get into less established, not that there aren't people out there selling magazines, but there aren't that many big magazine dealers.
Right.
That isn't something other that there's a price guide for, generally speaking. There are for obviously Playboy and Sports Illustrated and things like that.
Sure.
But otherwise, and there's so many different magazines out there that you start getting into things like that, the comping serves you less and less purpose as time goes on in some of those things. And certainly you get down into just the really obscure, one-of-a-kind stuff. You put whatever price you want on it because, again, none are out there or one's out there. And if I get a pile of really obscure Rochester stuff, I'm going to really sit there and comp out 40 different items to find that 3 of them had another sale.
Right, exactly.
And I'll give a perfect example. I regularly show on the Bolo videos, check them out every Saturday, various booklets and things like that from the Rochester area. The 150th anniversary of Albee in New York and the 100th anniversary of it. Usually I pick those up in groups. I never comp them. I just throw a price on them.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is a $25 item. It just is.
Sure.
And I put it up for that. Especially stuff that I've seen multiple times before because I figure other people might be selling it for $8, $10, $12.
Yeah.
But they'll sell through theirs, and somebody's going to want Albion and find mine, or I might have 5 different Albion things up, and they may make me an offer of 15 each and all 5 of them.
Right.
Buy them all because I've got 5 different ones, whereas the other guy's got 1.
Yeah.
And so on. And that's where being a specialist, which I tend to specialize in upstate New York stuff, at least the Rochester area, tends to help me on that stuff as well. So do hit the like button and do let us know how you comp, when you comp, why you comp, and how it helps. I will say, and we've mentioned this any number of times, you've got the people out there that comp everything, and I think that puts them at a definite disadvantage at times.
Even a time consuming.
Yeah.
You're wasting a lot of time. You don't need to waste all that time.
Right.
Cut it back.
Yep. So hopefully that helps you a little bit, and we will see you next video.
Take care. Bye-bye.